Hey, what's up, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about the role of flashlights in a patrol or a tactical setting. Now, when I say a patrol setting, I do mean a law enforcement setting. And I say a tactical setting, I mean that you carry a gun and you carry a flashlight. You're not just using that flashlight because it's a utility purpose. You're using it because you also have the means of producing a lethal threat, and you need to be able to identify and discriminate between targets and not targets. So that being said, illumination leads to identification. That's really important. You need to be able to see what's in front of you. What's presented in front of you could be a threat. It could be someone that's not a threat. You need to be able to understand those things. Okay? So we're going to talk about what the flashlight should be for you, what it should look like when using it, and how to apply those uses. Okay? So the reasons that you need to understand how and why and when to use a flashlight is because there could be a power failure in a building that you're in. You could be walking into a building without lights, or it could just be generally dark outside when something happens. Something else you might have to take into consideration is that low light shooting requires better marksmanship, okay? Because typically, if you've got a flashlight only and you don't have a weapon mounted light, you're going to have to demonstrate a better proficiency with that firearm. Having a tactical light increases your safety and the safety of those around you. It also lessens your liability. So it's important to understand that the flashlight itself should have these distinguishing features. A flashlight should be handheld. You can hold it with one hand, okay? It should be bright. It should be anywhere, and this is my opinion, from 350 to 1,000 lumens, okay? It should have very few settings. For me, I like all or none. I want to press the tail cap and get as much illumination on target or on the object as possible. There are times where you might want a less illumination, and that's fine, but I shouldn't have to toggle through to get to my highest illumination output. In my opinion, your flashlight should have a tail cap switch, not something up front, as we'll see here, or for such on a mag light where the only button is near the neck. The reason is because when I grab my flashlight, I want to know exactly where I need to press, no matter what orientation I grab the flashlight in. For something like a mag light, if I pick it up off the ground, if I get it out of my holster, I might be searching for that button on the neck. And really what I'm trying to do now is buy time. That being said, your flashlight should be deployable, okay? It should not be in some pouch that you can't get to that requires two hands to manipulate. It should be either in a bezel up style holster or in a pocket, bezel up, bezel down, it doesn't matter. But you need to be able to grab that flashlight in a moment's notice, preferably with both hands. So if it's all the way on the left-hand side in your back pocket, you might have a difficult time reaching that with your right hand. So for me, no matter what setting I'm in, I'm going to keep my patrol or my tactical light in my front left pocket. That way I can access it very quickly with my left hand. My dominant hand, my right hand, will be probably reaching for a firearm. But if worse comes to worse, I'm already on target with my left hand, for instance, my non-dominant hand, my support hand. I can still grab my flashlight from within my pocket and manipulate that flashlight. This is a big one too. Your flashlight needs to be securable. I see so many guys that carry these big mag lights. Now this isn't a tactical setting, of course, but in a law enforcement setting, and they'll walk up somewhere and they'll just stick their flashlight under their arm. Well, what happens if you need to actually do something with your hands and you drop your flashlight? That flashlight is no longer secure. You no longer have that flashlight, okay? Because you're not bending over and picking it up. That being said, something like this, I just grab it and I put it in a pocket. I put it on back in my holster very quickly. It's securable. I have a place for it to go. You're not going to put this mag light in the back of your pocket because it's just going to fall out, especially if you go to run after someone or run away from someone. You need to have that flashlight on you still. Okay, so whether a flashlight has been chosen for you or you're out choosing your next flashlight, you should understand the beam patterns of those flashlights. So first we're going to talk about throw. Throw is that hot spot that kind of gives you the most amount of light at a distance. So the throw, something with a lot of throw would be like a spotlight where you can see 150 yards with a nice beam pattern light. Spill is the outside that is not so intense, that allows you to see more of the light pattern, a larger light pattern, and that is better for instance, searching like a building. Is clearing rooms. I like having a lot of spill because it gives me more view of the room, or something where you're traveling through dense vegetation, you're doing some type of search, you might want a lot more spill. So there's a couple different styles of the techniques. The first one I'm gonna be going over is the Harry's technique. The Harry's techniques allows you to give yourself some support while shooting, and it also puts the flashlight fairly close to the gun or the muzzle, especially if you've got a lot of throws, that's going to be necessary for you. Next is the FBI technique. The FBI technique is great for a couple different situations, but it lets you keep the light up high, away from your body, because some people think that the criminal or the bad guy is going to shoot at your light. If that were the case, people generally shoot low left, so it wouldn't really fix anything. But the purpose for it for me is if you're going around a car or around cover, say a couch, you can lift that light up and illuminate behind the piece of cover or concealment while still giving yourself light and having the firearm in control. Okay, so that's a massive benefit in a tactical setting. So next is the neck index, similar to a temple index, if you will. But the neck index allows you to basically put the light in a secure and familiar place every time that you're clearing an area, for instance. So you're going to be able to keep your light pointed in the direction that you're looking and not just where your gun is at all times. So lighting where you're looking will be a whole lot more natural to you. And then you have the Surefire technique. The Surefire technique only works with a handheld light with a tail cap button. So you're going to need a flashlight that has a protruding tail cap to do the Surefire technique, because you're going to need to press and squeeze that flashlight. And if your flashlight tail cap mount is flush, that's not going to be possible. So again, it's up to kind of your limitations of the light. That being said, I'm not a massive fan of this hold because it forces you to put pressure on your left hand while you're also trying to shoot with your right hand. It can be kind of difficult because your brain is telling your left hand to squeeze. You don't want also to tell your right hand to squeeze for obvious reasons. But if that's how you practice and that's how you train, then I implore you to use that. And then lastly, a weapon mounted light. If you have a weapon mounted light, you're probably not going to be deploying many of these techniques unless you decide that you might need the FBI technique. Or if your weapon mounted light goes down, because that could happen too. I suggest that if you're carrying a weapon mounted light on your gun, you still have a good tactical light with you. All right guys, so I'm just going to use this pillar here as a piece of cover to demonstrate what techniques I might be peering around and using for left and right side cover. So we got left side cover here, we're peering around the left side cover. Are we going to want to use the Harry's technique? Probably not, because I'm spilling this light on myself before I can even get my gun across really. So I've got both hands out and I'm going to have to really peer around. So what I can do is use my neck index, right, to look around the left side cover because my light is further on my left hand side. And the same can be said for right hand cover. I'm not going to use the FBI style method to peer around right hand cover because I'm going to need to poke my face all the way out. What I'm going to do is probably the Harry's technique because it's going to be on the right hand side of my gun. So you need to understand the types of lighting. There's bright light, which is what we're kind of in right now. There's medium light, like if I had turned the lights down a little bit. There's low light. For instance, you're outside, but you have the moon. There's no light. It means it's completely pitch dark. You've walked into a building with no windows. And then last, there's backlighting. Backlighting is when you have light behind you or the person that you're looking at has light behind them. So all that you can see is their silhouette. If you're backlit, all that they can see of you is your silhouette. But typically you don't want to be in the position where all you have is the other subject's backlighting, because you cannot tell what they are holding or what they're doing with their hands. Typically, you might be able to see their silhouette, but it's just like watching a shadow. So this doesn't really get talked about a whole lot, but this is moving in low light. If you are moving to a target, to an objective, to an area, there are different ways in which you may want to do this. So moving in low light. If you illuminate the area, turn the light off, and then move. That's called light, then move. Light, move. Okay? That way you are not consistently giving off a beam of light while you're moving. Then you have brief sweeps. You walk into a room, you give it a nice brief sweep, you turn your light off because you essentially have cleared that room, unless you're still clearing, and then you move to the next point of entry or point of domination, okay? Then you have a light and move. If you're running to a target, running to an objective, running to an area, and you need to see while you're going, like say you're going through the woods, you don't want to trip over a branch, or you're moving up to different points of cover or something of that nature, you may just want to light and move. That's what a lot of guys will typically do naturally, and that's fine, but there's a time and a place. So those are pretty much all the techniques and the ways to use flashlights in a patrol or a tactical setting. I appreciate you guys watching. I know there are a lot of other techniques and holds and methods and lights and so on and so forth, but I just wanted to really touch on the basics. If you guys have a favorite position or method or technique that you use a light, or a favorite light even, let me know in the comments. I hope that what you have meets the criteria for a patrol or tactical light and that you're using it properly, and I hope that this video helps you. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.